I was looking for some talent for my Seattle Seahawks secondary, and I wanted to start with my two corners. That's Richard Sherman, number 25, and Byron Maxwell, number 41. So I got these two speed diamond bases that you see here. This one and this one. These two bases caught my attention because they have an excessive amount of flash on them. So the objective in this video is to get these two bases to perform for my cornerbacks on my Seattle Seahawks. If you look closely at these back prongs of this base, you'll see an excessive amount of plastic extending from those prongs. That excessive plastic is known as flash. And this flash can cause a base to run erratically, or it can totally immobilize a base. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to take your lighter and remove that flash from a base. Okay, here's the base that we just talked about earlier. It's the base with the flash on it. And I mounted that base on the Richard Sherman figure. So before we flash it, before we tweak it, we're going to do a run test and a strength test. Let's put them on the board and see what happens. Going to start him from the goal line, see where he goes. Okay, movement wasn't too bad, although the base has an excessive amount of flash. Now we're going to test the base for resistance. We're going to match it up against our Patrick Peterson practice figure here. And this base that the Patrick Peterson figure is mounted on is the base that was tweaked in the first tweaking video that was done a while ago. So let's match it up and let's see what happens. Okay, it lost the battle for the line of scrimmage. If it couldn't beat the Patrick Peterson figure, I know what it's going to do against a receiver. Before I start flashing, I like to first prep the prongs for the heat that I'm going to pass over it. I take my needle nose pliers and I make my prongs as vertical as I can get them, because when I send the lighter over these prongs, I want the heat to spread evenly over the front and the back of the prongs. You'll see some coaches, they may take their lighter and they'll pass the lighter over all four prongs as they control the heat. I prefer to go at one pair of prongs at a time. I start by facing the prongs that I want to flash toward the ceiling. So the end of the base, which is this part, this is the back of the base, where the majority of the flash is, I have that part of the base facing toward the ceiling because heat rises. And I go to one pair of prongs first, and then I go to the next pair of prongs, and so on, all the way around the base until I get all four pairs of prongs. You'll see some coaches, they'll hold the figure right side up like so, and then have their lighter under it. Not too close, but enough where the heat can get to the bottom of the base, and they'll allow the heat to permeate the bottom of the base, removing the flash. Children should not handle flame. So if you're a kid and you want to flash your bases, I strongly advise you to have adult supervision with you. Needless to say, you don't want to keep the base in the flame too long, because you will melt the plastic and you will render the base useless, which is why it's called flashing. That's the other reason why it's called flashing. You're removing the excess plastic from the prongs of the base, and at the same time you're flashing, you're waving the flame over the prongs. Now I'm ready to apply the flame to the prongs of the base. I want to go to this first pair of prongs here. So I'm going to get my flame going. Got the base set. Okay. Now I'm going to take the fire. Try it again. Take the fire to the prong. Hold it. Just like that. See how quick that was? I flashed in, flashed out. And do it again. Just that quick. You see that? Now, if we look at the bottom of the base, let's see if we can get a good look there. Remember that plastic that was on the bottom of the base? I got a lot of it off. It was on those prongs at first, these first prongs here. And it looks as if, without even trying, I got the flash off these other pair of prongs that's on the other side of the base over here. Okay, we've flashed the rear prongs of this base. Let's do a run test. See what happens. A lot smoother. A lot smoother. Now, let's do a strength test. We're going to bring back Patrick Peterson. Let's see what we get. Okay, he still lost the battle in the resistance test, but I'm happy so far with what I'm seeing. This base is starting to come to life. We still have to flash those front prongs as well. Okay, now I'm going to flash these front prongs now. Okay, notice again, I got these prongs facing toward the ceiling. That's the front of the base right here. So we got it facing toward the ceiling. Okay, so I get my fire going and I go to flash. Oh, try it again. Try it again. I didn't get close enough that time. Get my fire going. In and out, just like that. Fire going. In and out, just like that. Okay, I'm going to inspect the prongs. They look clean. Now that the front prongs of this base have been flashed along with the rear prongs, we're going to do another run test, and let's see what we get. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. Let's do our resistance test. We're going to put them up again against the Patrick Peterson practice figure. Let's see what happens. Much better resistance. I like that. Much better resistance. Now, a lot of people would say, you got the base moving. It looks like the base is showing better resistance against another base. Stop tweaking. But guess what? We're going to keep going. We've now flashed all the prongs on this base. The next step is to take our duckbill pliers. And we're going to flatten the prongs here. I want to start with the rear prongs. Just as you saw in the previous tweak video, we're going to do the same thing. Going to grab our prongs like so, making sure we don't reach all the way down to the bottom of the prong, because we don't want to weaken it. Okay, and we're going to squeeze. We're basically going to flatten those prongs. Then we're going to move to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to squeeze. Okay, now those prongs have now been flattened and they've been flashed, and we still got to do the front prongs. But before I do that, we want to do our test. I've now smashed the rear prongs of this bass. So we're going to do another run test. Each time we make an adjustment to any part of the bass, we test the bass. Let's see what happens. Still runs smoother, but it turns a little bit more now than it did before. There's still more adjustments that can be done. We're going to move on to the front prongs. But before we do that, let's do our resistance test. Going to bring out Patrick Peterson again. Let's see what happens. The Richard Sherman figure is now winning the battle at the line of scrimmage. So we still got good speed. The bass turns a little bit, which is okay because this bass is intended to be a cornerback. So this bass is still showing us promise. Let's move on to the front prongs. Okay, we're now at the front prongs, and we're going to smash those. Again, taking our duckbill pliers, going to grab the prongs, going to smash firmly, like so. Then we're going to move over to the other prongs, do the same thing. Going to smash those prongs, like so. It appears these front prongs are a little softer than these rear prongs. They have a slight bend to them. So I'm going to take my fingers, and I'm going to slightly bend those prongs forward a little. See if we can get it on the side here. See if you can see it this way better. Gonna bend those prongs slightly. There we go. Gonna bend them slightly. Okay, so now we've smashed all 4 pairs of prongs. We're gonna go to our run test and our resistance test to see our results. Now that we've flattened all 4 pairs of prongs, we're going to do another run test and see our results. Let's see what happens. We'll keep them in the frame there. Okay, the bass is running straighter now that we've smashed all our prongs. So let's check our resistance and see what we have. Going to match him up against Patrick Peterson again. See what happens. Look at that. Wow. Wow. Hold up. Let's run that again. I'm going to manipulate these prongs on Patrick Peterson's bass here. And remember, this is the first bass I had tweaked a while ago in the first tweak video. This bass appears to be losing now to the Richard Sherman bass. So let's take our fingers here and manipulate these prongs to make sure here. Let's run that again. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's what I'm talking about. This is what tweaking is all about. You find one bass and then you work another bass to see if you can get that bass better than the last one. And when you keep doing that, you'll find that you're building a team. Now this is a defensive back. I can't wait to put him up against a receiver.